Your guys'
my God.
chemistry was amazing. Have you ever kissed?
I got a Matchbox car commercial where I played a gangster.
Why did somebody dose everyone, and why would they waste drugs?
You're starting?
Yeah, I'd like to start.
Okay.
Because One Battle After Another is my favorite movie I've ever seen in my life.
Thank you. Oh, stop.
No, really, you're a really, really, really great actor, and this was like the greatest performance I've ever seen.
Stop.
And what struck me just as somebody, because I know you, and I thought this character was it's like the rawest I've ever seen you, but you were also really warm. And Bob reminded me, not in like personality, but I guess in like values of your dad. And I know your parents were like very counterculture.
Yeah.
So was there something that was like built from you about Bob? Or like, do you think PTA just kind of handed you a really warm and amazing guy?
I think it was very personal for Paul. He'd been writing it for 15, 20 years, and it was very pertinent to today, very topical.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was based on Vineland, but he made his own rendition of all of it. And I think the idea of this guy who was a revolutionary, then trying to assimilate himself in the modern world with a daughter that he didn't connect to, was something that had been permeating in his mind for a long time. But as far as like the counterculture stuff, yeah, my parents are different though. You know, my dad hung around with Abby Hoffman a bit back in the day. They were definitely hippies, but these were much more hardcore revolutionaries that did much crazier stuff. But yeah,
Your dad was also a bomb maker.
my father was a bomb maker. But I don't know, I just love the idea of picking up on this guy who was just kind of essentially an extra in the beginning of the movie to Taeyana's sort of revolutionary fire. And then you find him stuck there trying to live off the grid with no internet, no phone, thinking his daughter is going to be as paranoid as he is. And then this idea of them trying to reconnect in a modern context, and he doesn't even know how to relate to his daughter or the world that he lives in. But all that was in the script and something that Paul, put a lot of thought into.
What time is it?
I don't remember that part. All right, let's just not nitpick over the password stuff.
It was the funniest I've ever seen you. And was that because were you like aware of the comedy? Because I think the funniest people are like an Alec Baldwin who like does it like as serious as a heart attack. And I can't do that. Like when I was doing No Hard Feelings, I was too like aware that it was a joke. And I was like, yay, a joke's coming up. And I don't think I could do that. But were you like aware that you were being funny, or were you just really?
It was the circumstances. I mean, the fact that Paul wrote this idea that you think I'm going to be able to utilize all the skills from my past as a revolutionary, but that he's too stoned to get off the couch and he can't remember the password. And then that kind of dominates the entire story.
Right.
And then each time we got to these moments where maybe my character was going to do something heroic, we threw it out the window all the way to the end.
Yeah, when you fell off the roof.
All the way to the final moment in the movie where we still thought maybe I was going to do something heroic. We're like, nah, nah, he doesn't do it.
Yeah, Benicio also never really got his
Moment of like all this kind of work, and then there wasn't like a moment where he rides off into the sunset.
Right.
It was just kind of.
He was fantastic to work with.
Your guys'
Oh my
chemistry
God.
was amazing. Have you ever kissed?
But he was actually doing Phoenician Scheme, and we said we have to wait for him. So we shut down production for 3 months. And then he was like, I'm not prepared for this. But he came in and knew exactly who his character was. And we changed the whole movie when he arrived.
Yeah.
All that stuff we did on the road is because Benicio was like, no, I'm not doing this. I am doing this. This is who Sensei knows. This is what and we just kind of we improvised most of that stuff that we did together.
Wow.
Guess this is the end of the line, huh? Not for you. Ocean waves, ocean waves.
Well, last question.
Okay.
I have more, but before we move on to me, do you watch playback?
Depends on the movie.
Did you watch playback on this?
No,
Oh yeah, you couldn't because of the film.
it was all VistaVision,
right.
almost endangered or extinct cameras.
Giovanni Ribisi.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually told Paul about Giovanni Ribisi, who makes a lot of these cameras.
Yeah.
A lot of them are from Hitchcock's era. The last film was One-Eye Jacks. And then The Brutalist shot something in VistaVision. But the thing about VistaVision cameras, not only are they incredibly rare, and that's when Giovanni stepped in and said, hey, I have 2 of these cameras that I put together. The projectors, there's only like 4 in the world.
Wow.
The film goes this way, and it's very, I think CinemaScope took it over, but yeah, there was no playback.
Yeah. A lot of rollouts.
A lot of rollouts.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually, I think, only destroyed 1 camera.
Destroyed it how?
Yeah. The driving shots.
Oh, man.
I saw the movie in IMAX, and those driving scenes were
really?
amazing.
Like stomach dropping. So good.
So do you think you'll have another one?
Yeah, pregnant now. Cooking up twins.
What happened to your hands?
Oh, you should see the wall.
So tell me about Die My Love. I thought it was, I just finished it this morning because this all got decided yesterday. But it kind of reminded me of like French New Wave or Cassavetes filmmaking. And I thought immediately of Woman Under the Influence, which is one of my favorite performances
Me
and one of
too.
my favorite movies.
Yeah.
So why did you want to do this part? What got you into it? You were fantastic in it. Tell me more.
Thanks. Martin Scorsese had read the book
That's
in his
right.
book club, and he was like, you should be in this movie, or you should make this into a movie and star in it. And then when I was reading it, I really couldn't understand how it would be a movie because it's like all her inner dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
I got the emotion of it. Like I felt like the author, Ariana Horwitz, was able to like describe the indescribable, like grave depression and like an identity crisis, but like
Really poetically, like being lost in a forest, and just
Yeah.
like these visuals and these metaphors that I had just never thought of, like the human condition in that way.
Mm.
but I couldn't like crack how to make it a movie. And I didn't want to like go back to Marty and be like, I don't gotta try someone else.
The ending is
So I,
really powerful.
Well, it's interesting because so once I realized that,
It's poetry, it's not
Right.
like a literal story, then it clicked that it's Lynn Ramsey because she's a poet.
And what stuff was in the book? Was there stuff in the book that wasn't in the movie, or is it pretty much
No, she changed a lot.
she changed a lot?
She made the couple be new to town,
Mhm.
which in the book they're not. And I think that adds a huge element to my character's depression. And I think also the kind of pacing like a tiger in a cage, just like this. I think it added a lot more of like the isolation that I think a lot of new parents have. Because like, what is my life now without a community,
Right.
just being really lost. At the beginning, both of our characters kind of stick out like sore thumbs
Yeah.
because we're like from a big city and we're in this small town. And then as the movie progresses, I start to like blend in. And then that was my way of like finding where I was in the day, like where she was mentally. Like I'd be like, oh, the pink cardigan. Okay, she's
So a lot of the tension for me was that baby.
yeah,
You know,
I know.
you think of the tension in a film like this, you're like, okay, what's going to happen to this child?
I know.
Because she's unraveled
Yeah,
and capable of anything.
yeah,
That's what got me on edge with it.
I know. I really loved seeing you be a dad. One battle after another. I'm so sad that you don't have a teenage daughter. You look great with one. We changed a lot in the book. The child is not well taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob and I are both parents. And like Rob had like a newborn. And we just like were not capable of, I think, even playing characters like that. And it changed. And I think that ended up being for the better because postpartum, I think we've only been talking about it really recently.
Right.
And so when we do talk about it, the only understanding of it like is like a very simplistic, like you don't connect with your child and you don't like your child.
Right.
When really that's like one version of it. Another version of it is your marriage starts to erode. because your dynamic is completely different. And
We dealt with a lot of that with Tayana's character too in the movie,
yeah,
which was kind of something wasn't really, I guess it was kind of hinted at in the script, but this idea of me loving the baby more than her being jealous of the baby, and then all these secret conversations. But it was just a little blip in the movie,
yeah.
whereas you explored it.
Well, I imagine how much that would happen for her specifically, because she was doing something so important.
Mm,
And then when you have a baby, it's hard to not just feel like an animal.
right.
And you're just like, I'm a useless cow that just, I used to have a life. I used to do important things.
Right.
And I mean, for her,
Right.
she was doing like,
And then she almost blames me for being the paternal one in a weird
Yeah.
way. And you'll never understand what I'm
I get
doing.
it. I'm on Tanny's side.
I'm curious about
Okay.
something.
I was going to ask you a question.
Our
but you-
work aside.
Okay.
No, but I mean, we're both, we both started out very young. How old were you when you started out auditioning
14.
in Kentucky,
No, New York.
in New York?
Yeah,
14.
14.
I was 12.
Wow.
Yeah. And you did a lot of commercials, TV
Yeah.
before Winter's Bone.
And we were both on sitcoms.
Yes. What was your sitcom again?
Well, yours was Growing Pains,
Mine
which
was
I
Growing
watched
Pains.
every day after school. And mine was The Bill Engvall Show, which I don't think anybody has ever seen except me and my parents.
How long were you on it?
2 years.
2 years.
And then as soon as I wrapped Winter's Bone,
Mhm.
and then the show got canceled. It worked perfectly.
I did 1 year of Growing Pains, then I got This Boy's Life, which was like my first starring role, and they were so incredibly awesome to me because I think that we were going to do another year, and the late great Alan Thicke and all of them got together and like, let the kid go do this. Let him go. Let him. It was really an amazing moment. They were
They're
so
not
sweet to
normally
me.
nice like that.
And what was your first commercial?
I did an MTV promo for my Super Sweet 16,
Mm-hmm.
a show.
So I was like on a chaise lounge, and then they dropped me.
But were you in the show Super Sweet 16?
No, I didn't have money.
What is a promo? What does that mean?
A promo's it's like a commercial for the show.
Still don't get it.
Okay, I was playing a rich girl
I see.
having a
You were
over the top
acting.
birthday. I was acting
You were acting.
like I had money.
Gotcha. Mine was
You didn't grow up rich.
No.
But you got a sitcom at 12. I mean, that's
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of my propulsion to want to act was to get out of my neighborhood. Like that, you could do that for work.
right.
My stepbrother did a lot of commercials. It was like, wait a minute, you can get paid to do that?
Yeah.
I'm going to get out. I got to get out of this place. Yes. So I was the stage mom.
Right.
I was pushing my parents to take me on auditions. I'm like, my school is this far away. When you pick me up, we can stop at a couple auditions on the way
Yeah.
home, get me out there. So like I said, my stepbrother, he was an actor, did an episode of Battlestar Galactica and some television. And I was like, if anything, this is going to be my college fund to get me money to try to have some sort of career in something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't book anything for a while. I got a Matchbox car commercial where I played a gangster with slick back hair.
Wow.
Like I had a briefcase and I opened it up.
Did you go to the audition looking like a gangster?
Yes. I slicked back my hair and put like a little leather jacket on that my mom had. And then I got a lot of Mickey's Safety Club. They were called after school special kind of things where you teach kids not to do drugs and all that and the dangers of drugs.
Dare?
It was kind of like that from that
Right.
era. And then I think my first television show was in The Outsiders. There's my whole filmography.
Wow.
That's
Fab.
my whole.
Which brings me to one of my questions.
Mm-hmm.
PTA was your white whale for a while after Boogie Nights.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've just worked with him.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your white whale now?
I don't know, really. I mean, there's a lot of great directors out there. Damien Chazelle's very talented. Michael Mann's amazing. I've always wanted to work with him. There's so many. I don't really have one specifically, if I'm being honest. Paul, for me, was always somebody who I kind of felt generationally was somebody that I really looked up to. We almost did Boogie Nights together. And then I got to watch his entire career progress over the last 25 years and see this incredible visionary, and just always wanted to do something with him.
Did you pass on Boogie Nights?
It was a hybrid of that. Like there was Titanic, and then there was
Oh, right.
Boogie Nights, and they kind of overlapped. Maybe it could have worked
Have
out.
you rewatched Titanic?
No,
Oh, you should.
I haven't seen it.
I bet you
forever.
could. I bet you could like watch it as a movie now, and it's so good.
I don't really watch. Maybe I do. Some movies I've watched. You watch your movies a lot?
No, I've never made something like Titanic, but if I did, I would watch it.
But I mean, when was the last time you did that?
When I was really drunk, I put on American Hustle, and then my assistant went to download something.
But did you do it
the next
alone,
day.
or were you showing some?
Showing people?
Oh,
Oh my
being
god!
like,
that
yo,
would be-
this is what this movie was
No,
like.
I was drunk, and I was like, I wonder if I'm good at acting. And I put on American Hustle, and I
That is
don't remember what the
That
answer was.
is funny.
I'm gonna have them cut that out.
That is
For sure.
very funny. I wanted to ask about David O. Russell
Oh, okay.
and what the first film was like, what American Hustle was like, Silver Linings, and what you feel like he brought out in you in a lot of these roles. I mean, I think you've talked about it, like this sort
Yeah.
of push and pull with him, and
I mean, I
how
want
it
to
helped
be.
you as an actor in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and he taught me how to act. Really, I want to be sensitive to
That's
the
hard to believe.
other actors who've worked with him because I know he's tough. You know, and he can be really, really hard on people. For me, I don't know if it was because I like grew up doing sports, and so I just felt like he was just like a stern coach. You
Right.
know, it's like, do it louder, do it more quiet. That was bullshit. Do it again. That was bad. Do it better. Like it was just very like straightforward to me. And I think I was young enough that I didn't have anything to. It was normal, like to me. Because I was like 21 when I did Silver Linings Playbook. It just felt really alive. I never felt like he was like yelling at me. But anyway, I feel like when I say he taught me how to act, I feel like because I never did like lessons or anything like that, I think I would have really easily fallen into, I don't know, something. And I mean, you know how I'm like never like prepared. And I would always feel
That's
bad
not true at all.
about
But,
that. But he was kind of like,
He taught me that like that was like staying loose, you know, and that that's okay. And I think if I wasn't like,
aware that sometimes there's the need to like prepare, and then sometimes there is the need to like to not and to stay loose. And I'm happy he taught
But
me that.
you kind of like the process of somebody calling out direction like that?
Yeah.
You do.
Do you?
Interesting.
You know.
I think it does help sometimes,
Yeah.
actually.
But you show up like you're already like you're like making the movie.
But the idea of somebody, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think if I ever had that. Yeah. Because most of the times it's the director coming up to you in an intimate conversation like that.
Yeah. And I really don't like being tiptoed around like I'm an emotional landmine. I hate that.
Just gonna leave it?
It's your girlfriend, you clean it up.
Nice.
You pissed on the floor, too.
For this movie, did you have that dynamic too?
For this movie, she was really hands off by the time we started shooting. She kind of like builds the world and then steps back and like watches and is very observational. But I think like our conversations it was like more of a universal conversation than like a coming up in between.
And a lot of it was improvised, obviously, right?
I don't think
Was
we did that
was
much
that written in the script? All the stuff that you did in that film?
No.
No.
I mean, for the like pacing around the house and stuff, she would just kind of set up a camera and tell me to,
Exist.
yeah.
I think she improv'd a lot, like us crawling in the grass. That was written as like us like flipping burgers when he proposed this to me.
Didn't you say that was the first day of filming or something? I
No, the
read-
first day was the naked fighting like tigers. Yeah. And Rob and I didn't even know each other that well. We like met a couple times.
Wow.
I think it was better that way.
Like threw you into the gauntlet. You kind of like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Have you ever done nudity?
Yes, maybe I have. I did a film which you never would have seen called Total Eclipse about Arthur Rimbaud, French poet, when I was 17 or 18. I was nude in that, and I think I was partially nude in Aviator.
You should rewatch it.
I was trying to get the rendezvous point for my daughter,
Right.
Willa.
If you can't answer what time is it, I cannot give you the rendezvous point.
I do just want to hear more about like how Bob, did it like, I guess chicken or the egg, but like he's fried his brains on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
He can't remember the password. So it's kind of like this, you're kind of playing Bob in a moment where he's never existed in before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he like started the movement because he was like horny for her, and then
And it felt like he believed in a cause too.
I feel like that grew. No, I'm wrong. I'm not the
Well,
character.
the
so you would
mere
probably
fact
know.
that he's, well, maybe, yeah, actually, maybe that's what it seems like when you watch it. Like he's running up with the wheelbarrow and he's just
I think
starting.
I think it started about her,
Hmm,
and then
that's interesting.
it.
No, that's not the way we started out. He was kind of based on the Weather Underground and a lot of this book that I read, Days of Rage, and there was a specific bomb maker in there, and they're kind of in the background as you know, the more sort of pertinent or like forceful revolutionaries are in the foreground, and it had a lot to do with what his life was like. But yeah, I felt like he was definitely a revolutionary from the start and trying to fit in.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that the creative part of my brain and the political part of my brain are intrinsically linked. Like I keep finding, like every time I come up with like a movie or like it's more often than not political. I think it's because that's how I'm like digesting the world.
Hmm.
Are you like that?
No,
Okay.
no,
Next.
no. But this was an interesting one because he wrote this 15 years ago, and it kind of feels
Yeah,
very topical.
totally.
And you know, as we know, we did Don't Look Up together. It's very difficult to say something about the world we live in, and it has to have an element of irony or comedy to it. Otherwise, people, they're not allowed in. You know what I mean? It feels like, oh, I'm watching these people's vocation, and they, you know, do I relate to them? And the messiness of the comedy, I think, is kind of, you know, there's all those political films of the 70s, Parallax View, 3 Days of the Condor, All the President's Men, and they were taken very seriously. But nowadays it feels like there's such polarity and such extremism that if you pick a side, you're alienating,
Half.
you know, yeah, it's true, right?
Yeah.
So I think Paul, delicate balance, and I think he did an amazing job with this movie and saying something.
I agree. I agree. It reminded me of not the movie, but the actual revolutionary Napoleon.
Mm,
Well, the French 75.
right,
Yeah.
75.
What are your good and bad habits as an actor? And can I answer for you? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, by the way, that'd be much better. Bad habits. I think I shoot out a lot of
You shoot up.
ideas, sometimes unnecessarily. Well, it's kind of like a shotgun spray of anything that comes to mind. And a lot of that may waste time for the focus of what we already know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that sounds helpful. Because if it's not useful, then you just move on. But if it is useful, that's like really important.
Well, sometimes maybe it steers away from what is obvious. Do you know what I mean? But
That
yeah,
still sounds like a good thing to me.
does it? I don't know.
Steering away from what is obvious.
Well, you know, but sometimes it's unnecessary. Like, you know, we know what the scene's about. And I just keep coming up with this stuff that may seem unnecessary. That's all.
Well, a broken clock is right twice a
There you
day.
go.
So I think there are inevitably going to be moments where it's not necessary, but I don't think that means the whole process is bad.
So maybe
I think it's a good
maybe
habit.
it's a good and bad thing. I answered both in one.
Great.
Now I'm going to throw that back on you.
My bad habit is that I am so good at letting go at the end of the day that I don't think about the next day.
Right.
And then it's like a mad scramble in the hair and makeup trailer to like, if it's like a bigger scene than I was expecting. Because normally it's like you get sides and it's like you have 2 lines in the day. And then it's like a mad scramble to try to memorize. And then I'm not doing my best because I'm trying to remember what the lines are instead of just knowing the lines and then going elsewhere.
So your ability to shut off in between.
Is
Yeah.
great because for my life,
I imagine
but
on
really
this
bad.
movie, it was very emotional what you were doing. So that when you went home, you were able to how long was the shoot?
2.5 months, I think.
Oh, wow.
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was 1 month. 6 weeks? I don't know.
Yeah, that is a
One
good
day.
quality.
Yeah, it's good until
Makes you not go crazy.
it makes me not go crazy, but the next morning is hell. I mean, with Silver Linings, I had a scene where I'm just like yelling nothing but sports stats to
Right.
Bob De Niro. And that's obviously really hard to memorize because it's not like there's a train of thought to follow. It's just numbers and sports, which I don't care about. And, you know, I didn't know that I had to do that until the day of. And it's Robert De Niro.
And I'm like, I'm not going to fucking waste Robert De Niro's time. And so that's an example of it was a really, really bad thing to do.
But it turned out great.
Well, I ended up, I nailed it on the first take and then fucked up every single other take until we finally moved on.
That's a tough one, isn't it?
That
when you
sucked.
cannot. I've had those moments too. I remember on The Aviator, I had to say stuff about the spruce goose, and I could not.
what?
I literally couldn't say the words,
Yeah.
and it's humiliating. And it's like going to school with your underwear on. It's a horrible feeling.
Well, you and I are both obsessive about sleep, like when we're working, like
Mm-hmm.
counting the hours.
Yeah.
And when I was doing Red Sparrow, I took an Adderall instead of a sleeping pill. And then I didn't sleep all night. And I was like taking hot showers, like panicking, because like I'm not like somebody who can function without sleep. And then I had to say Senate Armed Services Committee in a Russian accent. And that sucked.
That's like 11 benevolent elephants. Senate Arms.
Well, now that you're saying it, now I can't.
Senate Arms.
Oh my God, I've
Senate Armed
remembered it for
Service
10
Community?
years.
Senate Armed Service? What
I
did
have
you just
no
say?
idea. Now it's gone.
And it's gone.
Now I have more long-term memory, I guess, to make room for. I also once took an Ambien in the morning, thinking it was something else.
Those are key screw-ups.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was a dance scene with Philip Seymour Hoffman on the second Hunger Games movie. And I was like hallucinating.
It almost shuts off a certain part of your brain, Ambien.
Well, certainly the memorizational part of your brain.
And you had to say lines
I did.
with that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I did. And Elizabeth Banks got really annoyed with me because maybe she didn't know that I was on an Ambien, but I kept asking the director, wait, and what does this mean? Wait, and what does this mean? And what does that mean? And she just like threw her sides and was just like, fine, let's just keep talking about it. Have you ever, well, on Titanic, everybody got dosed with peyote. I mean, you weren't, or PCP. You weren't there.
Yeah, I
'cause
wasn't
It was the
there.
Bill Paxton.
I just heard the story third hand. I wasn't there. Yeah, that was the modern day stuff where I think people started, there was like a conga line that formed and people were dancing.
Well, and
they
a
were
lot,
supposed to be
100 people went to
working,
the
and they-
hospital.
Yeah.
Well, they thought that it was a neurotoxin from the clam chowder. Why did somebody dose everyone and why would they waste drugs? It's a two-parter.
I wasn't there.
I have a question.
Yes.
Was there one note that PTA gave you that became like Bob to you? And does that happen to you on every movie? Is that like some, because that for me happens. I hear like one note and then I'm like that it's almost like getting in an accent and saying the same line.
Well, I think that back to what you said earlier, like the sort of bohemian counterculture stuff that I grew up with my father. My father's, anti-Vietnam, all that. The kind of cast of characters that I grew up with was very connected to that, those ideals of Bob. And I think there was a moment with him where we were about to start filming and I was still trying to create somebody else. And he was very much like, make this much more personal to the guys that you knew growing up and the people that you saw, and don't try to do something that is out of the box with this one. Don't make him from somewhere else. This is a California kind of guy.
Yeah, he's in you.
And then, of course, the Big Lebowski came into my mindset with the dude and
Yeah.
what a modern day dude would look like, who maybe planted bombs as well. And then as soon as we got to Northern California, really, and I understood what this idea of hip necks were, which were these kind of hippies that were, also don't tread on me, get off my property, anti-government, might have a shotgun in their backyard ready to get people, out of their face. That Northern California thing. And Paul is amazing with like location scouting. He did it for, I think, a year. We did Northern California, Borrego Springs with all the amazing road sequences, that chase sequence, El Paso. And everywhere we went, all sort of the local community that we worked with really helped with shaping the whole movie and the narrative. A lot of the people we worked with in the movie are non-actors. So he just bring people in that really had those vocations.
Well, we're about to work with each other.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I need to, I should absolutely know about Martin Scorsese before we start?
It's a great thing. And he's going to give you a lot of film references.
Oh, do I have to watch all of them?
Which is amazing because they usually come in the form of a DVD. And if you don't have a DVD player, get a DVD player.
Oh my God, I'm going to kill myself.
So, but he'll have screenings sometimes for just one sequence in the movie. Like if he doesn't have a hard time articulating anything, but if there's something that he wants you to capture from an old film or the pacing of something, you might have a screening of a whole film just for a specific scene that he wants to try to capture. We might see some Japanese ghost films for reference, just to get the tone of it. You're going to have an amazing time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you really excited to work with me again?
Yes, I am.
I am too.
Are you really excited to work with Marty for the first time? Who isn't? Right?
I can't believe that. Okay, Leo. Well, goodbye.